Hi guys, Rockstar Runner 7 here again. I picked up a new system about a month and a half, maybe 2 months ago now. And all this time I've been really wanting to make a video on it because it's pretty cool stuff. However, this has been without a doubt the most frustrating, difficult, nerve-wracking, infuriating thing I've ever picked up, because there have been some serious issues with it as soon as it turned up on my doorstep. So I'm going to talk a little about the system, show it off, talk about what was wrong with it, what I did to fix it, and then show some gameplay and stuff like that. So, hope you enjoy, guys. Here it is, the Fujitsu FM Towns Marty console. And if you have no idea what this is, let's start by just telling you what Fujitsu has to say about it, and that they've decided to put it right on the front of the case. Marty is a powerful ally with the brains it takes to make smart television a reality. With Marty, you can experience a marvelous new dimension in intelligent, interactive television performance. Quality. So, the FM Towns was a series of computers by Fujitsu that were made in Japan, like in the late 80s and through a part of the 90s. And they tried to make a console version of like the initial line of those computers' hardware. And this is what they came up with, the Marty. So inside this thing is a 386 SX 16 MHz processor, which at the time I guess was okay. There's some, I think, some custom video chip and custom audio chip and stuff inside it, but it's still based on that PC line of architecture. And what's interesting is that for such an early system, we have a CD drive, and the CD drive was capable of self-booting games. So games would have like a compressed version of the operating system on them, and you would just turn the machine on, stick the disc in, and it would start without having to load like a full version of the OS. And they've left quite a bit of the interface functionality from the PCs on here. So right here we've got a microphone jack, you've got a headphone jack and volume control for that. There's your controller port, a mouse port along the side, keyboard, floppy drive. Here is, if I can open that, in there, I don't think it's going to show up sadly, is a PCMCIA connector. And let's take a look at the back. So behind this panel is another expansion port where it's possible to connect up like adapters for you. I've seen people make hard drives work on this thing, and you can put a RAM expansion into this thing, but those things are rarer than super rare hen's teeth, so you're never going to find one of those. So here's the audio video interface. We've got S-Video, Composite and RCA Stereo. There's no RGB out from this thing, you can't get it, but the S-Video is pretty good. And if you have a decent television, like for instance my Bang & Olufsen MX, you can get a really great picture. This switch over here is for setting soft and sharp picture mode. I don't know why you would want to actually change it, but you know, I guess they give you the option. So next thing I'm going to talk about is what was wrong with this system when I got it and what I had to do to fix it. So the FM Towns unit, the Marty particularly, is incredibly reliant on its CD drive. If that goes kaput, then basically the box becomes a useless paperweight. So when I bought the system, I got it for a good price, but I knew that the floppy drive in it wasn't working. The seller said that much. He made a video showing it read CDs and stuff, so I felt reasonably confident that I could replace the floppy drive, because they're very well known for having they have a belt driven drive inside them, and it's very common that belt has just dissolved or broken over the years. So I figured that was probably the problem there, so I felt quite confident ordering it. When I got the system, I plugged it in and everything. Turned it on. Great. I get the boot menu. Everything's working fine. But then I put in a CD and it wouldn't spin it. Oh dear. I was a little bit concerned at first. My initial thought was maybe it was the power supply. So I took it to my friend's place, the Mad Dr. Misalo, and he started poking around on it. He took some readings from the power supply and he wasn't sure about them because it was like 8.5 volts, which is a bit weird output. So we decided to go buy a hell of a lot of caps, and we recapped the entire power supply and the CD unit just to be sure. But after we did that, we found that the power readings were the same and it still wasn't reading those CDs. So he started to adjust the pot a little bit on the CD, and he managed to sort of get the disc to start to spin, but it wouldn't spin up properly. It would just sort of spin a little bit, and the head, the laser would sort of bob up and down, but it wouldn't move. So we really started to suspect that the laser diode was dead, which is really bad news because you can't replace them. There was once upon a time a mechanism you could buy that was compatible with it, but that's been out of production for quite some time, and searching quite a lot as we did, we weren't able to actually find one. So we found a replacement laser pickup. We thought that would maybe help. It was cheap, so we ordered it from China. Turned out to be incompatible. It looked quite the same, but it wasn't, so we couldn't use that. And at this point I was getting really depressed. Like, I got this at a good price, but it wasn't working, and I felt like I just wasted that money, and I was kind of bummed out because I really wanted it to work. So I went on holiday at this point to France, and while I was sunning it up, my friend sent me a picture of a TV running Scavenger 4, which is the game I gave him to test with. He'd got it working while I was away in France. I was happy, to say the least, that my purchase was actually going to work. I'd be able to play games on it. I was over the moon. What he'd done is he'd found that the laser head had actually stuck in position, and he'd massaged the motor or some such and got the rail nice and greased up and everything, and it would start to read. So, oh great, the laser diode isn't dead, the system will work. Fantastic. Got home. The next step was to fix the floppy drive. So I ordered a $10 rubber band from the internet. Because it had to be the right elasticity, the right thickness, the length, and all of that. I replaced the rubber band, stuck in a floppy disk, and it goes something kind of like that, and it wouldn't read it. The system was telling me that it didn't recognize the disk. I spent about 2 hours translating some Japanese messages to figure that out. So again, I couldn't believe it. So close to getting this system working as I wanted it to, but no. Floppy drive. Apparently something else wrong with it. So again, took it back to the Mad Doctor. Please help, the floppy drive doesn't work. And we fiddled with it a little bit.
That is green.
Press the what now?
Here, in this, the auto set.
This one?
And one.
Alright, I'm going to go into the format menu on the Marty. I'm going to try and ask it to format. Light came on the drive. It's trying to. And now we get an error message.
This is definitely the speed of the... Can you see what happened? Yes.
What are we doing? We're formatting a floppy disk.
It's burning my finger. I think it stopped. It stopped. Okay, I think this is something there is a loose.
So having determined that there was something more seriously wrong with the floppy drive than just the drive belt, was it the optical sensor that checks the RPMs, or was it the motor, or was it perhaps some other component, we decided that we would instead try to replace the old Towns floppy drive with a more modern PC variety, but that comes with a few challenges. So this is a Samsung SFD321B. It's easily found on eBay, and what's special about it is it supports 3-mode writing, which means it'll read and write 1.2 megabyte floppy drives when you configure the jumpers. And 1.2 megabyte is the format that the FM Towns series uses. The first challenge was to actually make it fit in the case. To do that, I had to remove the front bezel and the bottom metal plate, and then finally I could get it in the right position so that it lined up with the opening in the case. Next challenge was to actually make the thing fit. Now I'd done that, so I custom cut this piece of plastic, which I was going to use to hold the drive in place, and there it is fitted. That stops the drive from sliding about and keeps it in exactly the right place. The tab on the back making sure it doesn't slide back when you push the disc in. Next challenge was the interface. The FM Towns has a ribbon cable, and modern PC floppy drives have this large plastic connector. So I picked up this adapter from eBay, which supports ribbon cable to the other kind, but the thing is the pitch on the ribbon cable is different, so you can't directly use the connector on the board. There you can see it, that's the floppy drive from the Towns and the ribbon cable from this adapter I got. So next step, bust out the soldering iron and remove the connector from the old floppy drive, which I'd also thoughtfully glued on. So here we have the connector from the floppy drive and the adapter with the old connector removed. Added all the wiring in, and also a power cable is needed. Then map all the wires to make sure everything was going to end up going to the right place. And there you go, an adapter. Not so simple as it sounds. A lot of effort. Then the next thing you had to do was configure the drive to support 1.2 megabyte. And there we go, ready for testing. First test. Yes! And there's the adapter in its final position, ready to go. Here's the controller for the system. It's a little 2-button affair. A, B, select, run. Buttons have a fairly nice feel to it. It's kind of comfortable to hold in the hand. Yeah, does the job. And for the mouse, I didn't want to purchase a dedicated FM Towns mouse because they're not that cheap. So what I did is I purchased a USB to Towns mouse adapter from eBay, made by kmtech.co.uk apparently. And what this does is it allows me to plug in my PC mouse into the FM Towns Marty and do mouse control games, which is good because then I don't have to have yet another mouse kicking around. Here's just a quick look at the packaging the games come in. I have 3 originals. Scavenger 4 is loose, unfortunately. Alone in the Dark I'm not going to be showing too much of right now because I have a plan in the future to make a proper video about this on the Marty. But first of all, I'm going to need to find a CPU upgrade, which is rather difficult to find but is actually possible. So we'll come back to that hopefully in the future. We'll just take a quick look at the packaging for 4D boxing here. The game itself is rubbish, I'm not even going to show it. So you got some serious AES level kind of packaging here, big solid box. Let's see if I can open this one-handed, just about. So, manual, some phone protector thing, and then the game comes in a jewel case, like so. And this is, most of the games will come in packaging quite like this. Okay, let's turn it on. So here we have the FM Towns Marty system, music and animation. Very neat little tune this, and if you want to hear more of it, I made a separate video earlier as a bit of a teaser for this system show, so go check that out if you like. It's a really nice RCA sourced audio. So with no game in the system, you get this lovely starfield and bouncing ball and stuff. If I hit the select button though, we jump into the menu where you can listen to CD music, you can copy CD files, floppy formatting, copy from floppies, setting the time, something and some other thing. Let's do a quick test with an audio CD. I'm going to put in my go-to audio CD for testing. This is the CD player software. That seems to be working, and I'm stopping this before I get a copyright strike. Go back to the menu. And let's put some software in. Okay, so the game auto boots a minimal version of the Towns Oz, as you can see here. Momentarily, here we go. So this is Splatterhouse, and the main reason I actually sort of found out about this system and started to look into it and eventually get one, because if you've watched any of my earlier videos, you know I like Splatterhouse. And first things first, I'm going to change the display mode from high res to low res. There we go, nice. The reason for that is that these are all softwares made for the Towns PC, which had a higher res monitor, and your regular TV, not so much. So most of them have a low res mode that you can switch into that then looks really good. What I was saying earlier about the S-Video being 480i and having an MX 4000, I can use the deinterlace software to take it back into 240p basically, and it looks crystal clear and super sharp. I hope that comes through. So let's exit this. We'll just watch the intro roll through, and if you look back you can compare it to the PC Engine version that I showed. Alright, let's start a game up. So this is basically arcade perfect. The only, let's say, noticeable difference is that the image is slightly narrower. But that's, I think, a side effect of the monitor setup that a lot of these games were made for. Oh! It's even gorier than the PC Engine version. And quite a bit harder too, actually. Those puddles are bigger than they appear. I'll try and concentrate now and make it through this stage. Switch to the 2x4, shall we? Wham! Wham! Bam! Yeah! The poltergeist room. No, sorry. My mistake. The worm room. Similar tactic works in this room as on the PC Engine. You just gotta be a little more careful. So this is everything I wanted from the system. I am so happy to have this. I wish I could afford the original, but they're going for about £400 complete. And that's a little more than I'm willing to spend at the moment. And one of the other really big reasons people search out for the FM Towns systems is this game. Tatsujin O, or Truxton 2. Let's go into low reso mode. There we go. This is the only system that got an official port of this game. So, and again, I'm playing a backup here because this is an incredibly expensive game. It's at least as expensive as Splatterhouse is. So it's just kind of... That music! Oh! Yeah, so it's as unattainable as Splatterhouse is because of the price, unfortunately. Let's see how far I can get on a credit. God, it's so good, that music, I love it. Oh, sugar. I want the green, I want the green. Come on, come on, green, green, green. To be fair, I am playing from behind a camera. But then, also, this game is rock hard. Come on, give me a break. Yeah, this game is really intense. It just does not let up. Aimed bullets, enemies that will shoot you from behind, stuff. And everything comes really quick. But there's just something about it that just sucks you in and wants you to keep trying. Oh, come on, come on, come on, give me the upgrade. Yes. I used a bomb just to make sure I could pick it up. Oh god, no! Ah. And now you restart with no power-ups, with all those tough enemies waiting for you. It is one of those games that if you die, you might as well just restart. Yup. Yeah, well, there you go. That was worse than normal, although, to be fair, my best effort so far has to be reaching the first stage boss. Raiden Trad, or Raiden Densetsu, the first Raiden game. Also a really good choice for this system. It's an arcade perfect port for all intents and purposes, with a fantastic CD soundtrack. Let's just jump in. Sadly, there's no like low res 240p like mode for this. Yeah. Let's cause some trouble for the enemy. I should have turned the auto fire option on because otherwise I'm gonna have to do a hell of a lot of mashing. Missiles, please. This is another fun but slightly tough one. Not quite as brutal as Tatsuja no, but still a challenge, absolutely. A great looking challenge. Okay, 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 okay. I got this, I got this. Yeah. Whoop, yeah. Panic button. Boom, 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 boom. Take him out. No. So sad. I'm not making excuses. I'm playing behind the camera. See if I can make it to the boss, maybe. It's not that far ahead. I'd do it if I just wouldn't screw up constantly. Stop shooting me! It's not nice. Oh god, come on! Just let me have it! Let me have it! Yes. Whoa, that was sneaky. Alright, got some good gunnage now. A couple of bombs in the bank too. Bomb the hell out of that. Whoa, whoa, tank, that's not cool. That's not cool, everybody shooting at me, stop it. Gah. Ah! Okay. So that's not the boss, but I'm gonna call it there. So here we are, Monkey Island 2, and I'm gonna make use of the mouse here. There was several of Lucasfilm's adventures ported to this system. So it's really neat to have a console that can play like Monkey Island 2, and so forth. We want the full monkey. So this works great on the Marty. It's very advisable to have the mouse for this game. You can play it with the control pad, but it can be a little difficult to hit the text choices in conversations and so forth. With the mouse, that's a lot easier. You can be more accurate. Let's skip forward to the title screen because that's cool. There we go, dancing monkeys. Hey, you guys get out of here. Okay. I'm gonna press the select button here. Load up my saves from the floppy. Load that up. Alright, we got our voodoo list. So it looks just spot on. The music is coming from the FM chip on the device. It's not CD music, but it's still quite good, I think. I think they've done a good job with the music here. You know, perhaps not quite like the Amiga's mod music, but pretty good. Let's go to Woodtick. What do you think? Let's pick up the sign. Oops, we got a shovel. So, Monkey Island on a console. Fantastic. Great to have it. So that was a look at my FM Towns Marty console. I hope you found it interesting and maybe learned something new. You know, it's an uncommon system and all that. And now it's working, I'm just really happy to have it. Splatterhouse, Tatsujino, my weird Alone in the Dark obsession. So, yep, really happy to have it, and I am just keeping my fingers crossed and praying that that CD unit never stops working, because if it decides to quit, then I'm absolutely
Well, if he won't say it, I will. Fucked.